Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever the time it is na papakinggan nyo ang ating recorded discussion about CEDAW and PCW. So before we start with our discussion, let me state to you the objectives of our lesson. Okay, so you should be able to state and explain the importance of CEDAW, state and explain also the importance of PCW, and able to explain the programs and services of PCW. So, ano nga ba ang CEDAW? So, CEDAW means Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. So, all forms, kahit anong um, discrimination or pananakit na pwedeng maka-harm sa mga kababaihan is covered ng CEDAW. So, CEDAW is a landmark international treaty na inadapt ng United Nations General Assembly noong December 18, 1979. Okay, so you can take note ha kung wala doon sa um, tawag ninyo, sa inyong reading materials, pwede kayong mag-take note sa mga sasabihin ko dito sa ating discussion kasi possible meron akong kunin sa itong slide natin, sa recorded discussion natin. Okay, so madalas dinidescribe ang CEDAW as International Bill of Rights for Women. And ang gustong makuha or ma-aim ng CEDAW is to eliminate or maalis yung discrimination sa mga kababaihan sa lahat ng aspeto ng buhay. Kasama na dyan ang political, economic, cultural, social, and civil spheres. And also, ang CEDAW promotes gender equality. Okay, so, bakit nga ba importante ang CEDAW? So, importante ang CEDAW sa definition ng sex-based discrimination. So, meron siyang comprehensive understanding. So, ang CEDAW nagpo-provide yan ng comprehensive definition ng sex-based discrimination na kung saan um, any distinction, any exclusion, restriction na ginagawa sa basis of sex is meron siyang effect or purpose para ma-nullify yung or ma-disconnect yung recognition, enjoyment, or exercise ng human rights and fundamental freedoms ng mga kababaihan. So, importante itong definition ng discrimination ng CEDAW kasi it goes beyond overt acts ng discrimination. And meron siyang subtle and systemic forms of inequality na pwedeng ma-embed, deeply embed sa ating cultural norms, legal system, and societal practices. So, importante din ang CEDAW sa equality, which is a three-dimensional approach. So, ang CEDAW, um, nire-recognize niya na hindi lang siya involved sa legal equality but also sa de facto equality and substantive equality. So, ano ibig sabihin ng de facto equality? So, ang de facto equality, ibig sabihin yan is equality in practice or reality. So, it goes beyond formal or legal equality. Ang gusto kasi ng de facto equality is to make sure na yung mga individuals, regardless ng kahit anong background meron sila, is merong equal opportunities sa lahat ng aspeto ng buhay. So, involved dyan yung pag-a-address ng historical inequalities or pag implement ng temporary measures para ma-level yung ating playing field. Okay, so actually medyo malawak ang de facto equality kasi nako-compare siya sa de jure equality or tinatawag na legal equality. Pero hindi ko na siya masyadong i-elaborate. Okay? Ito na pala tayo sa next slide. So, ang legal equality refers to equal rights and opportunities before the law, while yung de facto equality, ina-address niya yung actual na live experiences ng women, whether they enjoy equal access sa resources, opportunities, and outcomes. Okay, so i-summarize natin, ang legal equality, equal rights and opportunities. While yung de facto naman is yung ano yung actual live experiences, ano yung ikinabubuhay ng mga kababaihan, kung na-e-enjoy ba nila yung access sa resources, outcomes, and opportunities. Okay? So, ang substantive equality naman, it goes further. So, nagde-demand siya sa stakes para mag-take ng proactive measures. Yung states kasi, yun yung mga parties na sumali sa CEDAW and later on, i-discuss ko siya. So, sa substantive equality, ulitin ko lang, it goes further and beyond. Nagde-demand siya ng proactive measures sa state parties para ma-address yung iba't ibang causes ng gender inequality and to make sure na ang mga kababaihan is merong pare-parehas na opportunities para ma-achieve yung full potential nila. Okay, so CEDAW legally binds all states parties to fulfill, protect, and respect women's human rights. So, ang sinasabi lang nito is dapat merong legal obligation or a binding commitment. So, ang CEDAW, legally it binds all state parties. So, state parties, ito yung mga bansang sumali sa CEDAW para ma-fulfill, maprotektahan, and magkaroon ng respeto sa mga kababaihan, sa human rights din ng mga kababaihan. So, ibig sabihin nito, yung mga bansa na nag-ratified. Ano ibig sabihin ng ratified? So, ratify or ratified means nagbigay ng formal consent. Okay? So, yung mga countries daw na nagbigay ng formal consent sa CEDAW are obligated na ah, gumawa ng appropriate measures para matanggal ang discrimination sa mga kababaihan, including enacting legislation, pag-implement ng policies, and pag establish ng mechanisms para masigurado yung equal rights ng mga kababaihan. So, itong legal obligation na to, nagbibigay siya ng powerful tool sa mga state parties na accountable para sa commitments ng gender equality. Okay, so next na importance ng CEDAW is CEDAW recognizes that discrimination is often most deeply rooted in spheres of life such as culture, family, and interpersonal relations. So, ibig sabihin nito, ang CEDAW is nag-a-address ng root causes or beyond formal equality. So, nire-recognize ng CEDAW yung discrimination na often most pinakaugat ng 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 buhay ng mga tao, specifically sa kagaya ng culture, family, and interpersonal relations. So, hina-highlight nito yung importance ng pag-a-address ng cultural norms, traditional practices, and societal attitudes na pwedeng mag-perpetuate ng gender inequality. So, ang CEDAW, nananawagan sa state parties na gumawa ng preventive or measures to challenge yung mga itong mga beliefs and practices para ma-promote yung more equitable social norms and relationships. Okay? So, ang definition ng CEDAW sa discrimination is discrimination against women shall mean. So, ulitin ko lang yung definition ng discrimination ng CEDAW. So, discrimination against women shall mean any distinction, exclusion, or restriction made on the basis of sex which has the effect or purpose of impairing or nullifying the recognition, enjoyment, or exercised by women, irrespective of their marital status, on a basis of equality of men and women, of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, cultural, civil, or any other field. So, isa-isahin natin. So, sabi niya sa definition, um, shall mean any distinction, exclusion, or restriction made on the basis of sex. So, ibig sabihin lang niya na any action or policy na paano tratuhin ang mga kababaihan differently sa mga lalaki, whether based siya sa explicit or implicit assumptions about gender roles, can be considered as discriminatory. So, yung pagko-compare mo lang ng babae sa lalaki is considered discriminatory na yon. Okay, so the definition, ini-emphasize niya yung discrimination na pwedeng mangyari sa effect or purpose ng action para ma-impair or ma-nullify yung rights ng mga kababaihan. So, ibig sabihin na kahit yung action mo is hindi naman intended na mang-discriminate ng mga babae, pwede pa rin siyang ma-consider as discriminatory and meron siyang effect sa paglilimit ng opportunities nila or rights nila as women. Okay, so sabi niya, yung ang SIDAW is nagfo-focus sa impact ng discrimination sa enjoyment ng human rights ng mga kababaihan and yung freedom nila. So kasama dito yung lahat ng aspeto sa buhay kagaya ng civil, economic, social, political, and iba't ibang field pa. So ang scope ng definition na 'to is to make sure na ang discrimination ay naa-address sa buong aspeto ng buhay, hindi lang sa specific areas kagaya ng employment or education. Kasi 'di ba ang discrimination is mostly nakatutok lang sa trabaho at sa pag-aaral. So sa irrespective marital status naman, sinasabi lang nito na ang discrimination against women is nag-a-apply sa um, kawalang respeto sa marital status. So, nire-recognize yung karapatan ng mga kababaihan na pwedeng makaapekto sa kanilang status sa marriage. And yung discrimination na yon is pwedeng mangyari both within and outside of marriage. So, dito tayo sa susunod na definition, on a basis of equality of men and women. So, ini-emphasize ng SIDAW na ang discrimination sa mga kababaihan ay any action na ang tawag nito, nagpe-prevent or humahad lang sa kanila para ma-enjoy nila yung karapatan nila on an equal basis of men and women. So, ang ina-achieve kasi ng SIDAW na hindi lang formal equality but also substantive equality to make sure na ang mga kababaihan is merong same na opportunities sa mga lalaki para ma-achieve yung full potential ng mga women. Okay, so ano ang example ng mga itong definition of discrimination ng SIDAW? So example, unequal pay for equal work. So kung ang isang company is merong policy na babayaran ang lahat ng empleyado equally, pero kung ang babae is consistently nag-earn siya ng less kaysa sa lalaki sa parehong trabaho, pwede siyang considered as discrimination under SIDAW. Okay, for example na trabaho is office, kunyari parehas na psychologist, babae at lalaki. Pero mas kumikita ang lalaki kaysa sa babae regardless kung ano ang trabaho nila, parang mas mababa ang sweldo ng babae kaysa sa lalaki. But they have the same job description, may parehas silang trabaho, it could be a form of discrimination under SIDAW. Yun ang sinasabi sa definition na yun. So, another example naman is yung stereotype gender roles in education. Okay, so for example, sa textbook or curriculum materials na babae ang gumaganap sa textbooks for like traditional roles or men in leadership roles, pwede siyang maging form ng discrimination under CEDAW. Kasi nare-reinforce yung harmful stereotypes na pwedeng makalimit ng opportunities ng mga kababaihan. So parang ibig sabihin lang nito, for example sa school is merong textbooks or curriculum pero traditionally kasi lalaki ang parang nagiging ginagamit na role sa mga ganito, sa mga textbooks. Mas gusto nila ang lalaki kaysa sa babae kasi nga parang meron silang other meaning ng ah, paglalaki ang ginamit sa textbook kasi it represents leadership. So, pag hindi lalaki ang ginamit mo, parang hindi siya kaakit-akit pag babae naman ang ginamit. So, parang, kasi nga 'di ba ang pagkakakilala sa mga babae is weak. So, it could be considered as discriminatory under SDAW. So, another example is yung lack of access to healthcare for women. So, kung ang isang bansa is may healthcare system pero hindi siya nagpo-provide ng sapat na service para sa pangangailangan ng mga kababaihan, kagaya ng maternal health care or reproductive health services, pasok siya sa discriminatory under CEDAW. So, violence against women naman, another example, is a form of discrimination kasi nababiolate yung karapatan ng mga kababaihan sa security, safety, and integrity. Okay, so next is state parties of CEDAW. Sino-sinong mga bansa ang involved sa CEDAW? So number one in the list is the Philippines. So sa Philippines, dali. So ang Philippines nagbigay ng formal consent na sasali sila sa CEDAW noong August 5, 1981. So Philippines has a long history of advocating women's rights and pag-i-implement ng iba't ibang policies and programs para ma-promote ang gender equality. So next in the list is si Vietnam. So nag-accede sila. Anong ibig sabihin ng accede? Accede means nag-agree to demand na sumali ng CEDAW noong July 20, 1981 naman. So itong bansa na 'to has made significant strides para ma-improve yung karapatan ng mga kababaihan sa kanila, particularly sa edukasyon at sa trabaho, sa employment. So, si Indonesia naman, they agreed to join the treaty noong CEDAW August 28, 1984, sa CEDAW noong August 28, 1984. So, nag-implement din si Indonesia ng iba't ibang policies and programs para ma-address yung gender inequality wherein kasama doon yung pagpo-promote ng participation ng mga kababaihan sa politics and leadership roles. So, si Thailand naman, nagbigay sila ng formal consent sa CEDAW noong August 14, 1980. So, si Thailand kasi meron siyang strong legal framework para sa proteksyon ng mga rights ng kababaihan and nag-implement ng iba't ibang initiatives para ma-address yung gender-based violence and ma-promote ang economic empowerment ng mga kababaihan sa kanila. So sa Cambodia naman, so they also gave formal consent noong July 17, 1992. So si Cambodia, may mga significant progress siyang na-promote, especially sa rights ng mga kababaihan din, particularly in education and healthcare naman. So si Vietnam is education and employment, si Cambodia education and healthcare. Si Malaysia naman is na-ratify or nagbigay ng formal consent sa CEDAW noong July 5, 1995. So si Malaysia nag-implement ng iba't ibang policies and programs para ma-address ang gender inequality. Kasama doon yung pagpo-promote ng participation ng mga kababaihan sa workforce, employment, and leadership roles. Next is si Singapore. So si Singapore, they gave formal consent sa CEDAW noong August 14, 1995. So magkasunod lang sila ni Malaysia. So si Singapore has a strong legal framework sa protection ng women's rights and nag-implement ng various initiatives para ma-promote ang gender equality, specifically sa education, employment, and healthcare. Next is si Myanmar. So Myanmar gave formal consent to CEDAW on July 22, 1997. And Myanmar has made some progress sa pagpo-promote ng women's rights. But merong challenges, particularly sa gender-based violence and economic opportunities. So si Brunei naman, hindi pa niya nabibigyan ng formal consent ang CEDAW, pero isa siya sa mga countries na hindi pa nakakapag-sign or nagbibigay ng formal consent ng ah, treaty. Pero parang on process siya, ganun. While Timor-Leste, they gave their formal consent to CEDAW on August 14, 2003, and gano'n din, nag-promote din sila ng women's rights, particularly din sa education and healthcare. So, it is important na itong mga bansa na to have acceded or they agree to demand or they agree to join the treaty to CEDAW yung level of implementation and enforcement and yung mga provisions, it can vary. So, yung mga ongoing monitoring and advocacy is very important para sigurado na itong mga countries na to is nagagampanan nila yung commitments to gender equality. Okay, so monitoring of CEDAW. So, ang CEDAW is namomonitor siya ng Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. So, parang CEDAW din siya, pero iba yung meaning lang. Okay, so let's continue. Sorry, medyo na-distract ako kanina. So CEDAW is monitored by, again, Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. So itong CEDAW committee na to, ini-ensure niya na effective yung implementation ng mga rules and regulation ng CEDAW. And also, itong committee na to is a robust monitoring mechanism. So, ano ibig sabihin ng robust monitoring mechanism? It means strong monitoring mechanism ng CEDAW. Okay? So, ang CEDAW committee is composed of 23 independent experts on gender equality. So, itong 23 independent experts na to are elected by the state parties to CEDAW for 4-year terms. So, itong mga sinabi ko kaninang mga countries, balikan lang natin, wait. Ito, si Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, Singapore, Myanmar, Brunei, and Timor-Leste. Nagkaroon sila ng eleksyon kung sino yung 23 independent experts for gender equality ng CEDAW. And itong 23 experts na to, sila yung committee for 4 years. So, itong mga experts na to, they bring diverse expertise. So, diverse meaning iba-iba. And dapat meron silang experience sa legal, social, and cultural backgrounds para masigurado yung comprehensive understanding ng mga issues related sa rights ng mga kababaihan. Okay, so itong committee na 'to, they are responsible or, ang pinaka responsibility nila is to monitor yung implementation ng CEDAW ng state parties. So again, ang state parties, yung mga countries na sinabi ko kanina. And ang involved dito is pagre-review ng progress reports na sinasubmit ng kada bansa para ma-identify yung areas kung saan pa yung nangangailangan ng further action and also makagawa ng recommendations for improvement. Okay. So next is yung jurisprudence. Yan, yung which helps clarify how the convention applies to specific situations and emerging issues. So ang tawag nito, ang CEDAW is na-clarify niya yung application ng specific situations. For example, gender-based violence. Okay, so ina-address nila yung violence against women, including domestic violence, sexual harassment, and female genital mutilation. And another is yung economic empowerment wherein ine-emphasize ng CEDAW committee or ng CEDAW mismo yung importance ng women's economic empowerment, kagaya ng equal pay for equal work, yung access sa credit and property ownership, and also protection against discrimination sa employment. Another issue or specific situation is yung women's health. So this is very important kasi health is wealth nga. So ang committee, nag-i-issue sila ng recommendations para ma-make sure na ang access ng mga kababaihan to quality healthcare, including reproductive health services, maternal health care, and protection from harmful traditional practices is na i-implement or na isasagawa. Okay, so yung participation naman ng women sa public life, so hina-highlight ng committee yung importance ng mga kababaihan sa equal participation, especially in political decision making, leadership roles, and public life. So generally, ang sinasabi dito kung ano ang kayang gawin ng mga lalaki is kaya din ng mga babae. Doon natin makikita yung equality between gender or between men and women. Okay, so next is yung 3 foundation principles ng CEDAW. So first we have non-discrimination is integral to the concept of equality. So ang sinasabi lang niyan is not merely no na non-discrimination is the absence of discrimination, but it is yung active pursuit ng society kung saan everyone has equal opportunities and merong access sa karapatan regardless of their sex or gender. So itong principle na to, nire-recognize niya na ang discrimination against women can manifest or pwedeng mangyari sa kahit anong forms, from explicit legal barriers to subtle societal norms na pwedeng mag-manifest or mag-initiate ng inequality. Okay? So yung state obligation naman, state obligation embodies the elements that is respect, protection, promotion, and fulfillment of human rights. So sinasabi lang nito na dapat merong respect, protect, promote, and fulfill. So ine-ensure ng state parties na lahat ng individuals including women is na-enjoy ang human rights. So hindi naman passive yung obligation, but nire-require niya yung state parties na mag-take ng proactive steps para makagawa ng environment na kung saan ang karapatan ng lahat is narerespeto, napoprotektahan, napo-promote, and nafu-fulfill or nagagampanan. So, yung substantive equality naman, hindi ko na siya babasahin, medyo mahaba siya. It only states beyond formal equality of treating everyone the same. So, equality nga. So, nire-recognize nito na ang mga kababaihan madalas is nakakaharap nila yung iba't ibang challenges, unique challenges and disadvantages dahil sa societal norms, historical inequalities, and deeply ingrained na stereotypes. So para ma-achieve yung substantive equality na 'to, ang mga states must take into account yung iba't ibang differences and implement measures na makaka-address sa root causes ng inequality. Okay? So I hope malinaw 'yan. So itong three foundational principles na 'to are interconnected and very important or essential para ma-achieve yung true gender equality. Kapag na-implement itong mga principles na to, mga states, makakagawa sila ng society where women are free from discrimination, na i-exercise nila yung empowerment and yung rights nila and also nakakapag-participate sila sa they can participate fully sa lahat ng aspeto ng buhay. So, these principles are also important na constantly nag evolve yung understanding natin sa gender equality and yung challenges na nakakaharap ng mga kababaihan. So, dapat continuous siya. So, yung ongoing monitoring, evaluation, adoption ng mga policies and practices are very important to make sure na itong mga principles na 'to is nai-implement siya effectively sa karapatan ng mga kababaihan. Okay, so next slide we have SIDAW in the Philippines. Okay, so SIDAW in the Philippines, so meron siyang long history sa advocating women's rights. So ang Philippines is the first ASEAN country to give formal consent sa SIDAW noong 1981, specifically August 5, 1981. So, yung commitment ng Philippines to gender equality has been further solidified by the ratification of optional protocol to SIDAW in 2003. So, mamaya malalaman natin kung ano tong optional protocol. Okay, so tingnan natin yung history no ng SIDAW in the Philippines. So yung early ratification or formal consent ng Philippines was signed noong July 15, 1980. And nagbigay na ng formal consent ang Philippines sa SIDAW noong August 5, 1981. So it makes the Philippines the first country in Southeast Asia to join SIDAW. So itong early commitment, dine-demonstrate na ang Philippines is merong dedication na sa women's rights on an international level. Okay, so si Dr. Leticia Ramos Shahani, meron siyang contribution dito. So, dinevelop niya yung SIDAW. So, nag-prepare siya ng first draft ng convention habang nagsaserve siya as diplomat sa Department of Foreign Affairs. And her work in collaboration with Russian delegate na si Tatiana Nikoleva na ka-earn siya ng recognition sa commitment niya sa women's rights. Okay, so ang bansa natin or the Philippines na nag-take siya ng significant steps para ma-implement ang SIDAW sa iba't ibang legislative policy measures. So we have the Magna Carta for Women, Magna Carta of Women, okay, which is enacted noong 2009 and ibibigay siya ng comprehensive women human rights law wherein ini-eliminate din yung discrimination against women by recognizing, protecting, protecting, fulfilling, and promoting their rights. So, ano nga ba yung optional protocol? So, ang optional protocol to CEDAW in 2003, November 12, 2003, specifically in the Philippines, further it strengthens yung commitment to gender equality by providing women with additional avenues to seek redress for violations of CEDAW. So, ang optional protocol, inquiry procedure siya or complaints procedure. So, ang inquiry procedure, inaalaw ng CEDAW committee na mag-conduct ng inquiries into serious and systematic violations ng CEDAW sa isang specific country. Okay, so inquiry, it conduct inquiries. While complaints procedure naman, um, ah, ang isang individual or groups is nagsasubmit ng complaint sa CEDAW committee about alleged violations ng CEDAW ng state party. Okay, so summary lang natin, inquiry procedure is nagkakandak ng inquiries while complaints procedure is nagsasubmit naman ng complaints. Okay? So, let's proceed to, ayan, optional protocol. So, let's proceed to the PCW or the Philippine Commission on Women. So, ang PCW is government agency sa Philippines na responsible sa policy making and also coordination para ano ito, ma-promote yung rights ng women and also concerns about gender equality. So, it was established in January 7, 1975 and ang role niya is to shape policies or mandate um, programs that address gender equality concerns. So, ang dati niyang pangalan is National Commission on the Role of Filipino Women and na-expand siya and narinig siya through Republic Act 9710 which is also known as, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, Magna Carta of Women in 2009. Okay, so wait lang. So, sa policy development ng PCW, merong development and advocates for gender-responsive policies and programs. So, kasama dyan ang pag-prepare, pag-assess, and pag-update ng National Plan for Women, which outlines yung mga strategies para ma-achieve yung gender equality. So, coordination and oversight, nagko-coordinate ang PCW sa iba't ibang sangay ng gobyerno para masigurado na ang implementation and monitoring ng gender mainstreaming initiatives is effective. And also nagpo-provide sila ng technical assistance para ma-strengthen yung mechanisms ng gender equality. So when it comes to advocacy and empowerment naman, ang PCW, it advocates for women's economic, social, and political empowerment. So pinopromote nila yung participation ng mga kababaihan sa decision-making process para ma-ensure na ang kababaihan is merong cultural contributions and nape-preserve siya and na-enhance. Okay? Okay, so let's proceed with Magna Carta of Women. So sa Magna Carta of Women, dati it is it's formally known as Republic Act 9710 which is legislation in the Philippines na to help eliminate discrimination against women and to make sure na yung full and equal participation ng women in society is equal. Okay, so it was enacted noong August 14, 2009 and effectivity niya is on September 15, 2009. So Magna Carta Women is a comprehensive law na nagsisik para ma-achieve yung substantive equality for women by recognizing, protecting, fulfilling, and promoting their rights. So, inulit ko na naman to. So, it goes beyond simply prohibit discrimination and to create a society na kung saan ang mga babae is exercise nila fully yung rights and makakapag-contribute to national development. Okay, so wait lang. Mhm. Okay, so ang Magna Carta of Women, it is a powerful legal framework na kung saan roadmap siya para ma-achieve yung gender equality in the Philippines, and it is also a comprehensive approach to women's rights and yung focus sa marginalized women. Ano yung mga marginalized women? So marginalized women means or marginalized people are populations na kung saan nakaka-experience sila ng exclusion or discrimination dahil sa unequal power relationships. Okay? So, asan na ako? Yan. So, again, ang Magna Carta of Women is comprehensive approach siya sa karapatan ng mga kababaihan na nakafocus sa marginalized women and yung commitment to substantive equality. Okay, so importante siya to create a more just or justifiable and equitable society. Pero yung effective implementation nito nagre-require siya ng sustained efforts para makapag-raise ng awareness, para to ensure enforcement and also to address yung mga underlying issues like cultural and societal barriers na pwedeng makahadlang sa full participation ng mga kababaihan sa society. Okay, so ano-ano ang mga laws na nagpo-protect sa mga kababaihan against discrimination and violence? Okay, so first in the list, wait lang ah. Okay, so first in the list, we have the Republic Act 7877 or the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act. So, it was implemented on 1995, in the year 1995, and it aims to prevent and punish sexual harassment sa workplace, education, and training environments. Okay, so isa pang law na nagpo-protect sa mga kababaihan is Republic Act 8373 or the Anti-Rape Law of 1997. I-add ko lang no, doon sa mga violators ng Republic Act 7877, pwede silang makulong ng 6 months, up to 6 months, and meron silang piyansa na hindi hihigit ng 20,000 pesos. Okay, so take note of that. And Republic Act 8373, again, the anti-rape law of 1997. So, it is an expanded law na kung saan yung definition ng rape and reclassified it as crime against persons. So, ine-emphasize yung violation ng victim's dignity and integrity. Okay, so ano yung broadened definition ng rape? So, included dito yung penile vaginal intercourse and sexual assault. Okay, so penile vaginal intercourse, so hindi siya consented na sexual contact. And yung sexual assault naman is yung insertion ng penis into another person's mouth or anal orifice. Okay? So, it is any instrument or object na pinapasok sa genital or anal orifice ng isa pang tao. So, ang penalty for this penalty or violation sa Republic Act 8353 is under the law of reclusion perpetua or imprisonment ng 20 to 40 years. Okay, and wala siyang I think wala siyang piyansa. Okay? Reclusion perpetua is ang tawag nito. Reclusion perpetua is life sentence sa Pilipinas, equivalent to life imprisonment. Wala na yung silya electrica, mga ganon, and yung lethal injection, hindi na siya pina-practice dito sa Philippines. Okay, so next is Republic Act 8505 or the Rape Victim Assistance and Protection Act of 1998. So nagpo-provide ito ng comprehensive assistance and protection to rape victims. So merong mga rape crisis centers ang Philippines para ma-establish itong Rape Victim Assistance and Protection Act sa kada province and city. So responsible itong mga rape crisis centers na to for providing psychological counseling, medical, and health services dun sa mga victims. So, meron din silang free legal assistance and ina-assist itong mga rape victims sa investigation and prosecution ng mga kaso nila and also yung privacy and safety ng mga victims, rape victims. Okay, so next is Republic Act 9208 or the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003. So, pine-prevent and pinaparusahan yung trafficking sa mga individuals, particularly women and children. So, ang trafficking kasi, according to the law of the Philippines, recruitment siya, transportation, transfer, or pagtanggap ng mga tao na merong involved na threat, coercion or pamimilit, abduction or pangingidnap, fraud, pandaraya, deception yung hindi mo pagsabi ng totoo, parang panakip-butas, parang ganun ba? And abuse of power or vulnerability para sa purpose ng exploitation. Okay, so yung um, forms of exploitation includes yung sexual exploitation, kukuha sila ng tao para ah, magamit nila sa business nila, illegal businesses sexually, ganon. So, pambubugaw, parang ganon. Forced labor, slavery, and organ removal. Organ removal, like pagbenta ng kidneys, liver, ganyan. Especially sa mga healthy individuals. So, ang penalties for violating this Republic Act 9208 is imprisonment ng 12 to 20 years and meron siyang multang 200 to 500,000 pesos. Okay, so next we have the Republic Act 9262 or Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. So na-discuss na natin to nung last period. So ulitin ko lang, it aims to protect women and children from violence. Kasama dyan ang physical, sexual, psychological, and economic abuse. Okay, so na-discuss na din natin dati na ang forms of violence includes physical, sexual, psychological, economic, stalking, cyberbullying, threats, and so on. So, merong mga protection orders na galing sa mga korte para mapagbawalan ang abuser na lumapit sa victim or doon sa bahay nila, sa trabaho, or sa school ng mga bata. So, violators ng batas na to, makukulong sila ng up to 12 years and merong piyansa na 100,000 pesos. Next is yung Family Code of the Philippines. So, sa Family Code, which is enacted in 1987, wherein yung family relationships is nagpro-provide ng legal, and they provide legal protection to women and children. So, merong custody and support din na mangyayari. Ina-address nila yung issues of custody, support, and property division ng cases of separation, divorce, or annulment. So kapag ka ang mag-asawa is naghiwalay, minsan umaabot yan ng korte or yan hearing or baranggayan minsan kung saan mapupunta talaga ang mga bata. But just remember na sa batas ng Pilipinas, ang anak na 7 years old pababa is under the custody of the mother. Okay? Pero pwede rin na, anong tawag nito, pwede rin case to case basis actually. Kung kunwari ang mother is hindi naman siya financially stable, so doon siya sa father. Kung may trabaho ang father. Pero pag walang trabaho ang father, it's up to the court kung saan mapupunta. Pero technically, sa mother talaga siya, under 7 years old. Okay, so we also have women's and children desk and services. So, nakikita sila usually sa police stations. Meron din sa hospitals and other social welfare offices. So, nagpo-provide sila ng specialized assistance sa mga kababaihan and mga bata na biktima ng violence, abuse, and exploitation. So, itong services na binibigay nila are counseling and support, medical and legal assistance, referral sa ibang agencies, and also protection and safety measures. So, next law is yung Republic Act 11313 or the Safe Spaces Act of 2019. So, ito, prevent niya and pinaparusahan niya yung sexual harassment and violence sa public spaces. Okay, so safe spaces as defined by our law is any public or private spaces, mapa-indoor or outdoor man yan, where people gather for work, education, leisure, recreation, or any other purpose. So, yung mga acts na pinagbabawal sa Republic Act na to includes unwanted sexual advances, request ng sexual favors, catcalling, yan. Yung wolf whistling or pagsisipol, sexual touching, and public display of obscene materials. So, obscene materials means yung, kunyari, pornography, ganon. So, ang mga penalty ng violators ng law na to is pagkakakulong ng up to 6 months and fianza na not more than 20,000 pesos. Okay? So, ano nga ba ang function ng PCW or Philippine Commission on Women sa Philippines? So, una is gumagawa sila, nagre-review and nagre-recommend ng mga policies and measures to ensure ang tawag nito, gender equality and women's rights. So, ano yung mga gumagawa sila ng national plans for women, dapat align sa national development plans, ganyan. And dapat relevant sa government agencies para sa effective implementation. So, meron din yung gender mainstreaming. So, sa gender mainstreaming naman is nagkakaroon ng kasi nag-a-act siya as catalyst para sa mainstreaming ng gender perspective sa lahat ng national development plans, programs, and projects. So, ibig sabihin lang nito, minimake sure ng PCW na ang gender considerations are integrated or nag-a-align together sa lahat ng aspects ng policy making, planning, implementation, and monitoring. Okay, so advocacy and empowerment naman, nagpo-promote sila ng women's empowerment, gender equality, and protection ng human rights ng mga kababaihan. So, kasali dito yung pag-raise ng awareness ng women's issues, yung mga pagpapalit ng policy, and also supporting movements na mag-work for women's rights. Yung monitoring and evaluation naman is another function ng PCW wherein namo-monitor and na-evaluate yung implementation ng mga batas, policies, and yung mga international conventions na related sa mga kababaihan. Kasama dito yung pag-collect ng data, magkakandak ng assessments, pagre-report ng progress, ganyan, para ma-achieve yung gender equality. So, next is legislation and policy review as another function of PCW, wherein merong review and recommendation or amendment sa mga batas and policies para maalis yung discrimination against women and ma-ensure yung equal participation and representation. So kasama din dito yung pag-advocate ng passage ng bagong batas and also pagpapatibay ng mga existing legislations. Okay, so, ito pala hindi ko na-slide, sorry. So, ano yung mga programs and services ng PCW? So, first in the list is yung Gender and Development Mainstreaming or GAD Mainstreaming. So, meron dyan yung technical assistance and capacity building. And also yung GAD Policy Development and Advocacy. So, sa technical assistance and capacity building, nagpo-provide ng obviously technical assistance and capacity building programs sa government agencies, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders para matulungan na ma-integrate yung gender perspective para mag-workout, gano'n. So, kasama dito yung training sa gender and development concepts, methodologies, and mga tools, as well as yung pagpo-provide ng support para sa development and implementation ng GAD plans and programs. So, yung GAD policy development and advocacy naman, so it plays a leading role na ma-develop and magkaroon ng advocacy for gender and development policies sa national and local levels. So, kasama dito ang pagkakandak ng research, pagpo-provide ng policy recommendations, pag-engage sa advocacy campaigns para ma-promote ang gender-responsive legislation and policies. Okay, so we have the National Plan for Women. Okay, so sa National Plan for Women naman, meron tayong coordination and implementation. Just a moment. Ayan. So, wherein ang PCW, nagko-coordinate siya sa development, implementation, and monitoring ng National Plan for Women. Wherein ang National Plan for Women is a comprehensive framework sa advancing women's rights and promoting gender equality sa Philippines. Okay, so sa advocacy and empowerment naman, meron tayong promoting economic, social, and political empowerment. So, na-advocate nila yung economic, social, and political empowerment of women. So, kasama dito yung access sa education, employment, healthcare, and political participation. So, sa protection naman ng women's rights is from all forms of discrimination and violence is pinoprotektahan nila. Kasama dyan yung pag-advocate sa implementation ng mga batas and policies na maprotektahan ang mga kababaihan sa violence, harassments, and exploitation. Okay, so meron ding program ang PCW na God Timpala program wherein award system siya na nare-recognize yung outstanding government agencies, local government units, and other entities para sa mga um, outstanding efforts nila sa pagpo-promote ng gender equality and pag-i-implement ng GAD programs. So itong program na to, ini-encourage and binibigyan ng incentive yung mga ah, mainstreamers ng GAD sa lahat ng sektor ng ating society. Okay, so sa monitoring and evaluation naman, um, Minomonitor ng PCW yung implementation ng laws and policies na related sa rights ng kababaihan and also gender equality. So, sinabi ko na 'to kanina, kasama dito yung pagko-collect ng data, pagka-conduct ng assessments, and pagre-report ng ano yung progress para ma-achieve yung gender equality goals. So, ang PCW din is nag-develop sila ng GAD monitoring and evaluation framework para magkaroon ng guidance sa assessment ng GAD programs and initiatives. So, tumutulong 'to para masigurado na ang mga programs are effectively implemented and ma-achieve yung intended outcomes. So, sa information and research naman, so merong yung PCW, it serves as a clearinghouse and database ng mga information sa women's issues, gender equality, and GAD. So, kasama dito yung pag-provide ng access sa research findings, statistics, and other relevant resources. And sa partnerships and collaboration, so ang partner ng PCW is yung civil society organizations or the CSOs para ma-promote ang gender equality and women's empowerment. So kasama dito ang pag-provide ng fund, technical assistance, and capacity building support sa mga CSOs na nagtatrabaho sa women's issues. Okay, so ano ang importance? Bakit importante ang PCW? So una is yun nga, policy and coordination. Wait lang. Ayusin ko lang 'tong okay, yan. So, importante ang PCW sa paggawa ng policy and coordination. So, ang tawag nito? So, it serves as the primary policy maker and coordinating body para sa gender equality na sa Pilipinas. Okay, so nagpo-formulate sila, nagre-review, and nagre-recommend sila ng mga policies and measures para ma-address yung gender-related issues. So, importante din ang PCW sa advocacy ng women's rights. Okay, so they are PCW is a leading advocate ng women's empowerment para ma-address yung wide range of issues na nakakaapekto sa pamumuhay ng mga kababaihan. Kasama dito ang violence against women, economic inequality, political participation, and environmental concerns. Yan. So, importante ang PCW sa gender mainstreaming wherein merong integration ng gender perspective. And ang PCW, ang role nila is to give gender considerations doon sa government policies, programs, and budgets. Also mag-provide ng technical assistance and capacity building ulit sa government agencies para matulungan silang ma-integrate yung gender perspective into work. So, mini-make sure na ang mga pangangailangan ng mga kababaihan and yung mga perspectives nila is kino-consider sa lahat ng areas ng development. So, monitoring and evaluation is also important sa PCW wherein namo-monitor ng PCW yung compliance ng Pilipinas sa mga international conventions na related sa women's rights. Kagaya dyan ang CEDAW, and also ina-assess yung progress ng government natin sa pag-implement ng mga conventions na to and ma-identify yung areas for improvement. Okay, so trina-track din ng PCW yung gender equality goals or pagko-collect ng data, pagka-conduct ng assessments, and also pagre-report sa performance ng Philippines sa pag-a-achieve ng gender equality targets. So, mga information na to is ginagamit sa informed policy development and advocacy efforts. So, important din ang PCW as resource hub wherein as a resource center ng information and asan na yun nawala? and gender equality para mag-provide ng access sa gender disaggregated data and research studies and publications, good practice case studies, and so on. And importante ang PCW sa historical significance wherein merong long history ang Philippines sa pag-shape ng gender-responsive policies sa Philippines. And merong instrumental sa in advancing women's rights for over 50 years. And itong work na to has contributed significantly sa progress na ginagawa ng Philippines for gender equality. Okay, so ang PCW's role sa policy-making body, advocate and resource hub is very important sa pag-a-advance ng gender equality sa ating bansa. So, sa collaboration with the CSOs or yung tinatawag natin na civil society organizations, importante ito para ma-ensure or masigurado ng mga kababaihan, ang boses ng mga kababaihan ay mapakinggan, yung mga rights nila is maprotektahan, and most of all, ma-reach nila yung full potential nila. Okay, so that ends our discussion with CEDAW and PCW. See you sa next lesson. Goodbye!